So you should have just finished completing the investigation on page 158. So we're going to kind of go through some of the things you found. And so first of all, the quadrilateral sum conjecture. You should have found that the sum of the measures of the four interior angles of any quadrilateral is what? 360. Okay? And you should think about a square. If you think about a square has four 90-degree angles. Four 90-degree angles, 360 degrees. Likewise, a rectangle is in that same boat. But this is saying any quadrilateral, any four-sided figure will always have the interior angles to be 360 degrees. What about a pentagon sum conjecture? What are the sum of the measures of a pentagon? What'd you get? 540. 540 degrees. So in your chart, you also had a hexagon, which was a six-sided figure. What was the hexagon? 720. Very good. What was the heptagon, which is a seven-sided figure? 900. Good. And so now what we need to do is come up with the polygon sum conjecture. Okay, so real quick, one way is you can look at the pattern. Essentially, what are you doing every time? You're adding 180. And so one way to visualize that, one way to visualize that is to go ahead and look at the shapes. And I just chose this shape. It's actually an octagon. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and do something kind of interesting. And so if you look at this, let's see if I can get that. There we go. What have I just made right there? Yeah, I've made a diagonal. I've also made a triangle. What have I made right there? Triangle. Another triangle. And so what I'm just going to do here is I'm going to stay at that one vertex, and I'm going to keep drawing triangles. Now, believe it or not, this will work for any of the, yeah, there's a point there. And so if you look at that, how many triangles do I have? 6. And each triangle has measures of what? 180. So what that's saying is that this is 180, 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 and this is 180. And so if I add all those up, that would be the sum of the measures. Now you told me that there were 6 triangles, and I had 8 total sides. If I had a 7-sided figure, how many triangles do you think it would make? 5. If I had a 6-sided triangle, or 6-sided figure, how many triangles? It would make 4. So it's going to be making how many less? 2 less than the number of the sides. Okay? And so when I think about that, 2 less than the number of the sides, say for example I have something that's got n sides. What would 2 less than n be? 2 less than n would just be n minus 2, wouldn't it? And then what do I do with that number? I take that number times 180. And so that conjecture on the previous page, the sum of the measures of the n interior angles of an n-gon, 180 times n minus 2. So where that comes from, and there's another way too, we can look at it as a sequence into the table that you created for the investigation, and that's another way that we can look at it as well. But if I know that a figure has 10 sides, all you're going to do is plug in 10 for n. So 10 minus 2, which is 8 times 180, that would be the sum of the measures of that figure. So any number of sides can be plugged in there. So what you need to do is use that fact on your assignment today. Your assignment is found on pages 259 through 260. It's numbers 1 through 14 all.